Welcome back to video 2 of this series of videos. It's going to be obviously many videos. We started out with a Roberts 770X reel-to-reel tape player. And the tape player had the tape transport unit on top, as you can see from the previous videos, and it also has 2 amplifiers underneath. These amplifiers, the tape transport is pretty much not worth, in my opinion, doing anything with. What I really wanted to do was take these amplifiers and make them into a home audio amplifier. So what we have here is the left channel. There are 2 of these, and they're almost as if they're monoblock amplifiers. So each amplifier is one mono channel. It contains everything it needs to be an amplifier. There's no real shared circuitry between the 2 of them, save for some inputs and outputs and the power switch. When you turn one on, it feeds power out through this jack in the back, and the other one plugs in here with, surprisingly enough, what looks like a standard line cord. As a matter of fact, that will plug right in there if it wasn't polarized. This amp doesn't have a polarized power plug. It has no ground, so it doesn't matter which way you plug that in, save that it's the same as what's coming in. And there are a few other things that went off to the cassette deck, the tape head, and things like that. But other than that, each one of these 2 amplifiers should be able to function by itself as a mono amp. What I'd like to do is get both of them working, get them cleaned up, and then get them in the same cabinet, a nice wooden cabinet. The power output on this probably is not going to be much, 5 watts maximum, but it's bound to sound good. The construction and quality of the workmanship is pretty amazing. So that being said, we're going to be working on a piece of tube audio equipment. The voltage in this thing can be lethal. Don't try to do any of this yourself unless you know what you're doing. If you do anything like this yourself, that's on you. You take full responsibility for your own actions. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. Hopefully nothing catastrophic. I'm going to learn as I go. I don't claim to be an expert or anything like that. So in video 1, we kind of extricated these from the tape deck itself. I made some notes as to what plugged in where and what it looked like it was doing. And we're just going to go from there. So one of the weird things about this is a lever actuated switch. So this is actually a switch unit right here. And let's make sure that you guys can see that. And let's zoom you in a little bit so you can have a nice look. Hold on just a second. It takes a second for me to find the controls here. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if I can get this right here where you can see it. So this right here is a switch block. And it's spring-loaded. And so one position is play, and the other position is record. So at any point, this could be accepting an input from the head, the tape head, and amplifying that and sending it out to a pair of speakers. Or if you flip this, I'm assuming it takes an input from another source on the front or side of this through one of these connectors, and that goes through the amplifier and that goes to the tape head to magnetize the tape. So I'm gonna. From what I could see in the unit, I believe that this position here is the play position, and this would be the record position. We'll verify that a little bit more as we go along. Overall, it's in pretty good shape. There's some dust and some schmutz, some residue, oil. Not very bad at all. It does have a bit of a strange smell. One of the nice things about this is the workmanship and construction. Let's zoom out here and let you have a look at this. It's actually very well done. So you can see back here, this is from what I've been able to gather, looking a little bit more closely, this is the power transformer. This would be the output transformer going to the speakers and maybe to the tape head, I'm not quite sure. If we flip this here, you can see we've got these, it really is nice. They use high quality components in it. It's got nice wire round resistors. All the electrolytics look like they're in great shape. I'm sure that we're going to have bad ones in here. I'm sure that we're going to have to change some of them just to make sure that, you know, we're getting a good quality amplifier, you know, good fidelity out of it. Yeah, it's just, it is a really, it's just a nice piece of work, and it's very, very sturdily built, as most things of this era are. In the front, you know, once again, we have this beautiful cast aluminum, or maybe magnesium, something like that, faceplate. It has this beautiful analog meter on it. The nice power switch. I mean, these are just, they feel incredibly robust, you know. So I'm sure it's going to just be really nice once it's fixed and running. This is the aluminum faceplate that goes over here, and that kind of conceals, so you'll be able to pop this out and see the tubes in there to see if you're going to have any, see if all the filaments are lit and everything like that. This also tells us what these functions do. So I guess the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to talk about this. So I'm going to set this off to the side really quick. Sometimes you can just plug something like that in and you'll get lucky and you won't cause any damage. Sometimes it's better to limit how much current is going into there, especially if it hasn't been used in a long time. So what we have here is this horrible contraption here. This basically just takes a 110 volts in, well, 120 US standard power in. It goes through the hot line, goes through the switch, and then it has to go through this outlet, then through the bulb. So what happens is the bulb ends up being in series with whatever you plug in here, or whatever you plug in here. And I just kind of threw this together. I think it was like 20 bucks. A couple of plastic work boxes, a switch, an outlet, a $5 lamp fixture, and just kind of threw this together just so we could screw in different light bulbs here and get different load, different resistance in series right here. So we've got this one here is a 60 and this is a 40. There are tungsten filaments, incandescent bulbs. And what that's going to do is that's going to limit the current that can go through them. Add a little bit of resistance in the circuit. And what that does is if there's some kind of problem or the electrolytic capacitors or something's wrong, it won't just have a massive inrush of current. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug this in. Now when we plug this in, we turn this on, you have 110 volts, 120 volts between these. This is what goes onto your load. So when you short these out, this light bulb will light up as long as the switch is on. Kind of just an additional safety feature. Maybe if it starts to like electrocute me, I'm able to smack it real quick. I don't know. So at any rate, so what happens is you can just put this on your power input, and you're going to see if you have current flow that exceeds a certain amount, because your bulb will start getting a little bit brighter and dimmer. There's plenty of stuff on this on the internet. You can find out, you know, schematics for this or whatever. It's just not that sophisticated to put one together. It just helps you when you're first powering up something that hasn't been powered on in 20 years to you know, do it in a little bit more manner that's safe for the equipment and maybe a little safer for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop this thing up here, and we'll get back with you in just a sec. Okay, we're back. Had a little recording mishap. Okay, so back to what I was saying for the third time. The first thing we want to do is take some of these auxiliary connectors and tape them off. Just don't want them banging around, shorting out or anything. So this one is wired into the front panel, and it goes to a playback and preamp output. This one, don't know. We'll look at the schematics a little bit later to find out. I think it's going to the crossfield head. This is the main connector we're interested in. This is power in and out and audio in and out, I believe. So what we're going to do is we're going to look, and we've already taken off. I don't know if you can see this or not. Let's see if we can zoom in a little. All right. Whoa, 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 whoa. Easy, easy, Chief. There we go. So let's see if I can get you to right. Wow, that is really hard. I'm gonna have to zoom you out a little bit. Okay, So here's our power transformer here. And one of the first things we can look at a clue is this power outlet goes to the second amplifier. So this is energized when you turn the power switch on. So we have 2 yellows coming out of it, and they're going over here to these 2 taps here, which is 117 volts, 100 volts, and 0. Nothing on the 100 volt tap, it's all on the 117 volt tap. And so we have those going out there. And you know what it actually looks like is, let's see, and then what's coming out of here. This is what's going out to the amp right here. And what we have here is 5.7 volts. We have 6.3 volts AC. We have another 6.3 volts AC. And let's see, we have the 110 volt input tap. Okay, so coming to this, we've got 2 yellows. These go off, 2 greens, and then a red. Now, when I took this apart, I looked at what was coming in and where, and from what I could see, it was a blue on this plug and a red on this plug were giving me where the 110 came in. So this blue here, I can see it's running off over here, and it looks like it's going down here. And this is going across here with this wire nut, which is a strange way to do it, but if you didn't have enough wire, whatever. Okay, that's going to the power switch. So obviously coming back off the power switch, and it's very hard to see in there, especially when I'm trying to make sure you guys can see. Gosh, it looks like a white or something. Okay, so we're going to have to get a flashlight, and we're going to take a peek, so I'm going to pause you. All right, we have to take the bottom shield off. I have my shield on the bottom. Pretty easy to remove, 2 screws. And it opens the sun up on the bottom where we can see. So coming into the power switch, I have a blue. And then coming out, I have a green. So this blue comes up and comes to this blue here. So what we can do is we can set a meter on the ohms range. It'd be a little bit nicer if I had a beeping meter, but I don't. So we'll put this here and make sure that we can see. Okay, there we go. I don't know if you can see that or not. Probably not. Let me see if I can adjust this where you can. All right. Wow, I made it with a stand bee. Super simple, super easy right now. All right, well, if, well, I can just as easily tell you what it's reading. So we have our blue pin here on the main power connector coming in, and we're getting 0 ohms, and that aligns with what I've jotted down earlier coming out of the cabinet. Is blue is one of the leads, the other one was red. So we can follow this blue down here. This blue goes to our power switch, and then coming back out of the power switch way down here is this green. So this green is going to the 117 volt tap. So that's the power input to the transformer. That's also going to one of the pins going out to the next amplifier for power. So this is the switch side. This side here, which is the red, which also goes to the other side of this power outlet receptacle, goes right up to the plug. So our power input plugs here, pins, are going to be blue and red. So we come in here, red goes to one side of the power transformer, blue comes in, comes around, goes to the switch, comes back on the green wire, and comes to here. So what we can do is, now that we know where it's looking for power coming in, okay. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to set up a different meter so we can at least monitor current. So we can find an AC current meter, and we'll give this thing a whirl. All right, well, strangely enough, I don't have an AC ammeter here, so we'll have to rectify that before we get too far down the road. So I've got this plugged in now. Switch is off, light bulb is off. We have, so can you see that? Yes, you can. No, nothing there. And so, oh great, I'm right in the way. So you can see we have a light there. I'm going to turn this off, and we're going to turn our power switch off. We're going to find our power receptacle, and we are going to go for the blue and the red. So let me unplug this before I do this. Safety first. It'd be really embarrassing to die on YouTube. Okay, so there's our red lead, and here's our blue lead. And you know what? I just want to put a little tape on that, just to make sure we don't have an embarrassing moment. Doesn't have to be tight, just enough to keep it apart. Okay. That feels like it's not going to touch. All right. So what we're going to do is we have this amplifier off. We're going to turn this on. Now the only thing standing in the way of electricity flowing through here is our power switch and a 40-watt incandescent bulb. So let's make sure you can see that. There we go. So here we go. Let's put the spurs to it. Okay, so far so good. Nothing's on fire. I don't know if I can see any filaments yet. Kind of anticlimactic. All right, now we have power going to this. This is isolated. I'm going to turn this off. Turn this on. I should not have current. Huh. I should not have current going through that. Okay. Let's try it again. Power's off. All right. Our light is dimming. I don't know if you can see that or not. Make sure we can see this. So we got a very dim filament on the light bulb. We have, yes, we do have some, all right, we do have some glow there on the filaments. As much as I can tell, I can't really see through some of them. They're kind of dusty, or the getter's in the way, or whatever. But so far, so good. This is probably the first time I've seen power applied to it in a long, long time. So these electrolytics are probably having a little fun. Let's see, let's measure some voltage here. So on our transformer, should have 117 volts in. Let's just shut this down for a minute and have a look at what we should have here. Okay, we got common, there's our volts, there's 200 volts. We have power coming in red. That red is going directly to this tap here. Let's just confirm some of this before we go on too much. Okay, so we have red here. That should be coming through here. going right here. And I should have, yep, 0, okay. And that is also going to here. So let's have a look here at the blue. So this blue here, coming in here, going through here, coming back here, coming back in the green. So I should have that looks right. And that shuts it off. That's infinite. That's almost no ohms. Let's go to this one. Got a winding, what, 11, 12 ohms on the winding. This should be 0 ohms. Okay. Let's try that again. Let's go for blue and red. Okay. We're off here. We're off here. Let's go on here and on here. Okay, we want to measure AC volts between here and here. It says we're getting, I don't even know if you can see that. So right now with this bulb in here, we're getting about 75 volts AC. So let's measure what's coming out of the other side. So we got 250 volts, 0, and 250 volts. We'll grab one here on the 0. It's going to just the same. $170 volts on that side. 170 volts on that side. Okay. Go down here. This one says it's 5.7, so I'm expecting about 5. A little low. I don't even know if you guys can see that. There you go. This is 6.3 volts for the filaments. Alright. Well, I think it's time. It's had some time to come up and kind of stabilize. We might want to go ahead and just let it sit here for a little bit and then switch to a larger bulb. So I believe we have all the filaments are lit. These 3 definitely. Alright, well, we'll let this cook for a little bit. Wait for anything to explode or not. And we'll get back to you. Alright, well, it's been cooking on the bench here for a little while. I've seen no spikes in current, so I've taken a couple measurements. Voltages are low, but they're present. All the tubes are lit. So, you know, you can do a lot of fancy stuff, but sometimes you just plug it in. We have a RCA plug here, connected to a phono plug. We have a speaker input here. I guess I'm just going to plug her in, see what happens. I've got a small, inexpensive speaker hooked up over here, and we're just going to plug it in and see what it does. And I've got nothing, so what we can do is just make sure that we're not. I've got something. So this is our record button. This is our record light. This is our monitor button. I do have some hum. This is a tone and a tape speed selector. I'm not sure how this plays into the equation. So right now it's set for 1 7/8, and this is 7.5 to 3 1/4. That seems to put more of the bottom end goes through. I'm going to set that right in the middle somewhere. Alright. We do have, we're not grounded or anything here, so there's bound to be some noise coming in. Let's put an input signal and find out what it does. Alright, we'll use the right channel. Now the first thing I want to do is just check, and we're going to use a cheap, very cheap MP3 player. Try to find some music that's not going to trip the algorithm. Be struck dead by the copyright gods of YouTube. So far, so good. So we've got a microphone input here, and we have a line input here. We're using the line input. Usually these tube amps, they require a full 1.5 volts at least to drive them. So coming out of something like this, I'm not sure we're going to get it, but let's see what we got here. This is our phono playback input. Here's our preamp output, our record light, and our monitor. Seems to have no effect in this position. And if we turn it to this position, we get nothing out. Okay. So let's just go ahead and plug in to the line. And let's just check, make sure we don't have an abnormally high voltage on this end of it. Anything feeding back. Nothing there. And nothing there. I also have nothing there. I should be getting something. There we go. All right. Let me go get a signal source and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. We've been cooking for a while. In the meantime, I took off the return spring for this, so it would not be pulled into the record position, but be in the playback position. We have scored an antique MP3 player because there's no way I'm plugging a $1,000 phone into this thing. The battery is toast, so I gotta have a power bank to run that. We are still on the 40-watt limit over here on the light, so it's limiting the current flowing through it to 40 watts. So our voltage is really low on this, but I think we should still be able to hear something. And we have some, hopefully, royalty-free music. So we're going to go ahead and give it that. I'm going to select music. All music. Okay, let's try the 100 Strings Orchestra. Oh my lord. Okay, let's turn up the volume. That's it. Okay, so I think our next step is to give it full power. And let's see what we've got. Obviously, the gain is low right now. We don't have adequate B+, but we'll probably also remove one of the tubes from this unit. In the owner's manual, it shows the tube complement for the left and right channels. The left channel having an additional tube. I don't know. Yeah, you probably can't see this. But it lists them. There's a low-noise pentode on the left. There is a 12AB7 in the next position, which is, it says a 12AX7 equivalent. This is a 6BQ5 power output stage. This is the 6AR5 bias erase oscillator and the 6X4 rectifier tube. I do have spares for all of these, except for this bias erase oscillator, which we will not be using. It went to the X field coil to erase the tape. So we will be removing this tube so there's more power available for the other ones. We'll also be getting this directly plugged into power, and we will come right back. Alright, so we've got ourselves reconfigured now. We have power going directly from the wall into the amplifier, full 120 volts. We are going to locate tube V4, which is V4, which is this one here, and it says it is a 6AR5. That is the one. This is our bias field oscillator. So we're going to go ahead and just remove it. It is not required for operation as a power amplifier. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let's have a good look. I'm going to go ahead and put this right. So let's just put that right there. So that's not required. We will take this tube cage off. That's not going to be required. So now it will look identical to the other channel. Same tube, same locations. Okay, we have no speaker hooked up. We got no line input hooked up. We do have 110 volt power coming in. No current limit now. So this could be interesting. All right. Nothing spectacular, but we do have much brighter filaments now. So let's go ahead and plug a speaker in. Like I said, I've just got a not so great speaker over here. And I have volumes all the way up. It's dead quiet. I do get a little crackle from the pot. A little dirty. Probably use a little bit of a good cleaning. We'll get to that. Alright, we're going to unplug our MP3 player just to make sure that we don't feed back through that and pop anything. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one too. Not going to need that. Let's give it a line. Well, that's certainly noisy. We're going to check and make sure that we don't have any weird voltage on this. Okay, I'm not showing any voltage, just amplifying noise in the environment. So as soon as we plug this in, okay. I'm not really getting that much more amplification. We have our volume 95%. We have our input source turned all the way up. On. Nice, huh? Can you see the meters? I hope so. Let's zoom in a little bit. Trying to find something that actually peaks the meter a little bit. So. So we almost got to 0 on the... So we almost got into the red. It probably could use a little bit more input, another half a volt at least. But all things being equal, not a lot of sound. It's probably 5 watts maximum, but it will drive an efficient speaker very nicely. Well, much later in the evening now. I did run it for a little bit. It sounds pretty good. We do need to take the tubes and test those, see if we're deficient somewhere. But other than that, that's all I can do for it right now. So we're just going to button it up a little bit, talk about what we did. We went through and we figured out what some of these inputs and outputs are. We found out that the red and blue on this plug coming into the left amplifier is your AC input. We still don't know what these other, this one here does. I believe it's a cross field. I'll have a look at the schematic. We'll get to that in a bit. This one has to do with the preamplifier output and the line input. We brought it up on a variac. Well, not a variac, a dim bulb, current limiting. And we'll let it cook for a little bit just to make sure we weren't going to have any problems. We hooked the speaker on there. We've given an input signal, and it sounded, well, I would say surprisingly good for what it is. It's not designed to be a heavy hitter. It's just designed to be almost a preamplifier and a tape deck, and to run the recording functions. So we did learn that this position here is the playback position to the left. To the right is the record position, so we had to remove the spring, at least off one side, to just get it to sit there. We figured out what these guys, where these wires went, verified some voltages. Is it ready to go into service? Oh, far from it. Like I said, we do need to check on some of the capacitors, check the tubes, give the controls a good cleaning, take it out for a good gallop, so to speak. Just make sure everything's functioning correctly before we throw it in the case. And that will do the left channel. Then we have to do the same thing to the right channel. There'll be a little discrepancies with the inputs and outputs. Eventually, I would like to use a set of rear outputs. Instead of this speaker on the front, put it in a cabinet and have a speaker jack in back. I don't mind using the front input so much. But I'd sure like to have the outputs be on the rear. But that's about all we can have time for now. Next video is going to be a couple, 3 weeks before I can get another video done. I've got some work to do. But, you know, what do we learn? Well, it's alive. And it functions surprisingly well for being something... Gosh, I don't even know when this thing was made. I'll have to check on that. Or you could just Google it and find out when the Roberts 770X tape, reel-to-reel tape player was manufactured. But I believe it was... Gosh, was it maybe even before I was born? So that's it for this video. We'll get back with you in a couple weeks, but yeah, at least we know how to get it powered up now. Line in, speaker, power back here on the red and blue, 120 volts, and slide this to the left, and hit the power switch, hit the spurs to it, and it fired right up. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you in a couple weeks with another video.